This learning report is a small narration of the NCIC Interpeace peacebuilding experience in northern Kenya, and specifically in Mandera County and in the North Rift. This report is structured in 4 parts. We have the first part of the report where we have discussed the conflict context and the different things at play, the history and the context of the conflict, and why the context of the conflict required the approach that we adopted. The second part of the report carries a bit of a list of results, positive results that have been formed, and those structures still remain, and even with increased sometimes level of violence and insecurity in some of the regions, it has remained effective and at play. The third part of the report mainly describes how those changes happened. What did we do? And in a 4 kind of step approach, we have talked about, the initial inception, where we did a bit of the research, then we have the detailed participatory action research, and then the intra-community consensus, and then finally the inter-community engagement. And the final part of the report is to identify what we learned in the peace-building process. A case in example, which I think in this learning paper we had picked up, are 2 examples of the ceasefire we brokered that has stopped and curtailed many years of death and destruction. One of them is the Banisa Peace Accord. The Banisa Peace Accord is between the Gare and the Dogodia, where these 2 communities have been fighting in Banisa and Malkamari region, and they have over many years had a situation where one person is killed, they retaliate, 10 are killed from the other. Livestock are taken, the other group take. And they do cross-border mobilization, because both Gares and Dogodias also live in Ethiopia and in Kenya. They mobilize militia and clan support across the border. This conflict has been persistent from 2010 until when in 2016 we started doing the peace-building program. As we speak now, the program has moved from the issue of communities retaliating with one another, but even if there is a death or there's some destruction, elders sit and dialogue among themselves. They arrest the perpetrators. They jointly identify who is the criminal. They are able to address and mend their relationship. And in the past, one person is killed, the entire road to Banisa and Mandera that links all these communities is closed. And therefore, there are no all these relationships are severed. As we speak now, there has been several attacks here and there in Mandera, and especially in that area, but it has never resulted in a situation where the 2 communities have stopped having any relationship with one another. Meaning, incidents of violence is not going to be going to end, but the structure is able to withstand the kind of conflict. September 2020, we brokered the Baragoi Peace Accord between the Turkana and Samburu, and gradually it has now reached a point where we can today celebrate and say there is peace in Samburu North. And we thank also the area member of parliament for his support, and for the chiefs and the security team for helping the process. I'm sure they played bigger roles than we did, but when we started, people were killing one another in Baragoi town. After that, the momentum built, everybody started supporting the process. Then the other peace accord that we have enumerated is also the Orwa Peace Accord. The Orwa Peace Accord is between the Turkana and the Pokot. While this community has never had a relationship in terms of when you look at the pastoral setting, the relationship between a Turkana and a Pokot was, I see you, I'll shoot you. You see me, you shoot me. I take your livestock, you take my livestock. Over time, of course, in the recent past, there has been some surge in violence because of the politics and drought and invasion. But what is very, very unique is that the relationships that have been built, the experience that people have, and the structures that we have created between these 2 communities up to today, is able to help maintain relationship between the 2 communities. Anytime you hear youth mobilizing to go and attack the Turkanas, or Pokots mobilizing to attack Turkanas, or Turkanas mobilizing to attack the Pokot, the structures and the community that have been brought together during the Orwa Peace Accord up to today are able to talk to one another, engage one another, and able to share information. So we came to realize that communities who fight one another tend to fight over a conflict belt. You know, communities live in some kind of a situation where they have ancestral land, grazing land, and then at the center of that, you will find this community, there are villages that border one another. So when communities are fighting, these are the people who suffer most. Because of the history of this suffering and the engagement we have had, what we did is we twinned each of these villages that are on the conflict fault line. And they came up with a structure. We call them the inter-village dialogue space committees. So committees from this village and committees from this village sit together, discuss issues, share resources, and they also become brothers keeper, because many a times people who want to attack this group will come and rest in this village. They mobilize themselves. They also get the intelligence of how to attack. And then when they come, they raid the other village, and then they go with the animals without even passing through this village. When they steal livestock or raid animals from their neighbors, they always disappear with those animals. And this has also affected these communities, because each time the negative impact is left with the people who are living on the border. From our learning experience, this shifts completely from the usual mediation process where when somebody just comes, you know, through a very theoretical or desk review, he tries to analyze the situation and the parties and bring people together and ask them, what's your problem, and you sign a peace agreement, which is usually doesn't hold water. The peace building process here is a community-centered process. It's a community, accepted process. The structures are structures that are also propelling community issues themselves. And the solutions and the implementation of the agreements is also left to the community. And the approach is not also something that is usually quick fix. It's something that gradually is built from as communities continue to build their trust. When we were starting the peace building program in Mandera, we had a situation where is peace devolved? The national government will take a position, the county government will take a position, and we end up having a situation where within the same government we have got two centers of power in terms of definition of what needs to be done, what needs not to be done. So we end up having a serious conflict even within the same government instead of synergizing the effort. So to remedy that, what we formed is the Peace Actors Forum, where it is co-chaired by the County Commissioner's Office, who represent the national government, and the county government, who co-chair. We bring all the Peace Actors Forum and organizations that help in the peace building to address and contribute towards synergizing their peace process. So all the NGOs, instead of everybody carrying some banners, running around, intervening in different directions, so the Peace Actors Forum usually helps in coordination of the peace process, bringing everyone to one table and making sure that we address what the people are facing in a common approach. So duplication is removed, signage is created, and then issues of wastage is also reduced. So that has also been a very important structure. Some of the key learning points that we really need to pick up from our peace approach and our peace process is that identity matters. Who are the peace builders? Who are the people who are involved? What are the structures? What are the issues? Identifying the people who are involved in the peace process is very essential for us. And that's why you find our team that are in Mandera, the ones who are currently working in North Rift, the one in Marsabit, they have all the ethnic groups that live in that area, so that whenever you have all the staff assembling there trying to talk to communities, the Samburus will find somebody who can speak to them in their own language. The Pokot will find somebody from the team who speak their language. Atrukana will find the same. Atugen will find an Eljam. So we end up having a team that carries the identity of the people, the warring communities who are fighting one another. And that has really helped in building trust. Even the places where it is very difficult for anyone to enter, we always have somebody who is a bridge builder among the team. Meaning, of course, there are people who are aggrieved, but there is a staff who comes from that aggrieved community who is able to build bridges. And that in itself is a very, very important thing for us. It has made our work simple. The other issue that we had used in this program that has been very successful that helped us is the use of what we call in the track 6 approach. Track 6 approach is the process by which we have we involved the track 1, that is the political leaders on the higher tier of the society, and in that one we have usually the program has got what we call the steering committee and the working group, where people who are at the top layer of the government are part of the program. And then we have got the Peace Actors Forum, which is usually all the NGOs and the civil society and the professionals are usually involved at the second tier in the peace process, and they are highly accommodated. And then we usually do a grassroots track 3 approach, where the communities in their, in the rural villages are all brought to, and their voices are documented. So what happens is that this track 6 approach means our project has squeezed and shrunk the space between track 1, track 2, and track 3, in the sense that we use audiovisual. We have our peace building has got the research and the audiovisual team. The audiovisual team document every meeting and every engagement that they undertake, and once they document this, they tend to find the voices of communities are picked from very, very, very rural settings and outreach, hard to reach areas, and those voices are recorded, corroborated by voices of other communities from all the different aspects, and then the voices are now shared to leaders. And sometimes we usually use the audiovisual to also broker peace between, you take the voices of the Pokot and take it to the Samburu, and the Samburus to, and in this kind of a mixed, using the digital platform, and in the night when we are staying with communities, we tend to use that to all the voice of reason from the communities are shared, and it has really been very supportive for us. This report, we did not design it for a peace building community. This is more of a learning research that we thought it can help peace building institutions as a reflective, a teaser to see how peace building organizations can be able to inquire deeply into their approaches and what works, what did not work. Much of the details have not been described in detail because we have got other accompanying peace building reports, like the North Rift note, which carries the research of North Rift and what happened in North Rift. We have the Mandera, county report. We have the Wajir county report. We have the Marsabit county report. So they are, and the Laikipia report. So there are detailed reports about what exactly happened, what's the conflict, who are the fighting parties, and so on. This one is more of an expose of the methodology that we use, the approach, put in some form of more of an academic process where new peace builders, practitioners, and people who are interested in some kind of a learning documentation of experience can be able to use. So generally it's something meant for academicians and people of higher learning and people who are based in research and want to know a little bit of an experimental approach to the peace building approach can be able to use it as whatever. So we are not. It's not a peace building report that we are launching. What we are launching is more of a learning paper from an academic point of view for those people who will wish to be researchers and inquire something. More of an inquiry into our peace building approach. And we wish to thank the German embassy for hosting us for this event, and for everyone else who has also accepted to attend.